Welcome back. You might remember at the beginning of the year, I said one of my goals for this year was to break 1400 rapid on chess.com. As you can see from the rapid rating there in the corner, I am not doing well with that goal. I first need to get back to 1300 before I can work on 1400. I don't know exactly how to do that, and I don't know exactly what the problem is, but I know I'm going to keep trying. And one of the ways I'm going to keep trying is analyzing the games, both the games that I've won and the games that I've lost. And here I have a game that I'm going to look at. The problem with this game is that I thought throughout the game that my opponent and I both played very evenly and smartly almost near the end. And then my opponent made a mistake that I capitalized on, and then they made another mistake. And those two mistakes I recognized and took advantage of, but I still thought we played a very close game. Then when I ran the game review, as you can see here, I had 11 inaccuracies, 7 mistakes, 3 blunders, and a missed win. Which if you've looked at chess.com's game reports, missed wins are just blunders. So really, that's 7 mistakes and 4 blunders. I'm going to look at this game and see if I can figure out what I should have done instead of those moves. I'm going to switch to the analysis rather than the review page. I'm going to turn off the feedback. I'm going to turn off the lines. And we're going to go through this game, which was 79 moves, by the way. But I'm going to speed up the parts where the eval bar doesn't jump that much. And when it jumps hugely in my opponent's favor, or I lose a huge advantage, I'm going to stop and try to figure out what I should have done instead. Hopefully you'll learn something from this. If not, maybe you'll just enjoy watching me figure it out. I will say that chess.com has changed something recently. In the past, when you had this feedback on and off, it removed the symbols from the board. And so they've changed something. I'm going to try to figure out how to change that back. Okay, well, I fiddled with the settings. Hopefully I sped that up in editing, but I can't find a way to get rid of those emoticons or whatever they are that pop up there. So we're just going to have to live with it. But again, that is something that has changed on chess.com recently, and it's frustrating. Anyway, my opponent made an inaccuracy. I didn't realize that was an inaccuracy. I thought they were going to develop their bishop. Maybe they should have played e6 instead, but we're here to look at what I did wrong. Okay, it says this is just an inaccuracy according to that little emoticon, but before that move I was up plus 2 point something and then I went down to 1.5, so that's almost a mistake in my book. So instead of playing e5 here, I should have done something else, and I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to guess castling is what I should have played here, or possibly pulling one of the bishops back to protect these pawns, but I'm going to go with castling. Okay, let's click the lines. Oh, it was d5. Castling was my second best move. Castling queenside was actually my second best move according to Stockfish, and rook d1 was my third best move, but d5 was my first best move. I would not have guessed that. Wouldn't they have just taken, and then they would have been threatening my bishop? If I had played d5, they would have captured, I assume, with that pawn, probably not with their e-pawn. And then if I had captured back, that would have left my king open, but I assume they would have captured back. Then I could have captured back with my knight, I guess, or the bishop or the queen, because that pawn wouldn't be in the way anymore. I don't think that, but there's also this. Oh, I guess my queen's guarding that temporarily. So what if I played d5? It says they would have taken with their c-pawn. That's what I assumed. That would have been their best move. And then what would I have done? Taken back with my e-pawn. That's what I said. And then they would have pushed past. They wouldn't have taken, or they wouldn't have taken here. Interesting. See, if I were them, I think I would have taken here, trading that bishop for that knight, and then I would have taken back. Then they could have taken here. And the only thing of I would have left protect or hitting that pawn, because they would have removed 2 of my pieces from defending that pawn. So they would have taken here and their queen would have been back there pointing at that pawn. Then I would have had to drop the bishop back. How bad would that have been for them? If they had done that, it says I would take with my queen, but that would have been a huge mistake for them. But then they would take here, right? It says they wouldn't. They would just push past again. Really? See, I would have expected them to do this. Their queen's behind that, so I'd have to take back. Oh, I would win the rook now. Okay. So I would win their rook, and that leaves their knight hanging. So they would have to protect the knight. No, they would not protect the knight. Really. They would play queen to e7 check. And when I moved out of check, then they would just move this knight. Okay. See, I don't understand chess. And that's why I didn't play d5, because I thought if we ended up here, I might be ahead a piece. But they're about to take this piece, right? I mean, obviously they have a piece under threat here too. But if they check me here, Couldn't I just block? No, if I blocked, they would push the pawn. Well, then I could block with the bishop and get it out of danger. But it says that's their best move. And my best move is to move my king. My 3 best moves are to move my king. How bad would it have been if I just blocked with the bishop? Okay, that still would have been pretty good. They would have played queen to f8 to protect the knight. That makes sense. Or they could have played queen to b4 check. If they played that, then it says I would move my king again, but I think I would want to block with the bishop again if that happened. Interesting. Okay. Again, don't understand chess, but that was an inaccuracy. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, we've come to the point of my first mistake. Playing b4 was a mistake. I wasn't sure what to do. I did notice that they had 2 attackers on this pawn, and I only had 1 defender on it, but I wasn't sure what I could do about that. If I moved my queen to protect that pawn, well, that would have been a problem because of this knight sitting here on f5. I guess I could have defended that pawn by dropping my knight back here, but then that would have left my queen with fewer escape squares if that knight began to attack my queen. Because right now I have this square I can drop my queen back to. Is it going to say I should have played d5 again? My idea here was that I thought they were about to play b5 themselves to attack this bishop, and then I would have to drop the bishop back, and that would block the b pawn. So my idea was that if I played b4 now, which they can't attack immediately, I guess they could, but if I did this and then they played b5, then I could put my bishop back behind the pawn. That's the only reason I played b4, but oh, I left the lines on. Okay, well, fortunately I didn't look at them. It says knight to e4 is what I should have played. Really? Why should I have played knight to e4? Wouldn't that have then let them go here and attack my queen? Oh, no, I guess not. But why is knight to e4 my best move? I didn't even get a chance to guess what my best move was, but I can tell you I would not have guessed that. Or queen to d3. See, that makes sense. That puts an extra defender on this pawn. Okay, I could see queen to d3. In fact, I kind of remember considering that during the game. Bishop to e3. Okay, well, I did consider that and immediately discarded it because the knight would just take it. Maybe here the knight is actually better than the bishop, so maybe they wouldn't have traded it, but I don't know. Okay, well, that was a mistake and I should have played knight to e4. I'm not sure why. I guess trying to get it in there on this outpost square, but it's not really an outpost square if the knight's right there and can just take it. Maybe getting it in on this outpost square. Maybe that's where the knight was headed if I had played knight to e4. Although then they could have sacrificed the bishop for it, and when I took back with the pawn, they could have taken with their queen and they would have gone up a pawn. So maybe not. I have no idea why I want my knight there. If one of you knows, please explain it to me. I've turned off the lines. I'm going to find my next mistake. Well, the symbol didn't pop up on the screen this time, but I think I've found my next mistake, because when my opponent took with the knight, it said that was a blunder. And then when I moved my queen here, it dropped back to almost even. But here I have a +4, plus 3.9 plus 4. What should I have done? I did turn off the lines, right? Okay. Don't tell me it was knight to e4 again. The reason I moved my queen is because, yes, I see that their knight is pinned, and I can win their queen with check. No, it wouldn't be check. I can win their queen if they move the knight. But what I did see was if my queen is here and they take it, that's check on me. And I would have to take back with the pawn or move my king, and then they could, I don't know what they could do at that point. And yes, then I could take their queen, but I've already lost mine, and they would get my rook for it. So that's why I moved my queen here. What's in danger? If I move my queen here, what does that allow? If they went there anyway to check, and then I would just go back and take it. Should I have gone here? Is that what I should have done? Moved up beside it? Something is huge here, though. Okay, I don't know what it is. I'm going to click the lines. Queen to e4. Oh, I did guess it, but I didn't think it was great. But for somehow that queen to e4 or queen to e3 are the only way that I maintain this +3 or +4 advantage. But why? What does that give me? I don't know. Hold on. It sounds like somebody's banging right outside my window. I'm going to stop and see what that is. Okay, thank you for your patience. The banging turned out to be a different neighbor this time. I might have mentioned in the past, my neighbor right behind me often has contractors up on his roof making loud noises. I'm not sure what they're accomplishing, but now it's a different neighbor who has contractors on their roof making loud noises. Not sure what they're accomplishing, but it was distracting me. Anyway, I don't know why queen to e4 is so good. And it says that then they would play knight to, they would just leave this knight here and let me take it. Okay, I see that. Okay, this allows me to take it with the rook. Okay, I think I get that. Because if they move the knight anywhere now, then I take their queen with my rook. I guess unless they went here and checked me, then I could just win their knight for free and their queen would be in danger. So yeah, okay. And queen to e3 does the same thing. Okay, it allows me to take the knight with the rook. The problem with, okay, I get that. The problem with my move, what I actually played in the game, is that it forces me to take the knight with my queen. I see why that's worse. However, I still don't think they're going to move their knight, are they? See, that was the thing. I thought they weren't going to move their knight. Because if they did move their knight to here, I would just take it. If they moved their knight to there, for example, then I would take their queen, they would take back, I would take there, and I would be up, right? That's what I thought. But for some reason, doing one of these was much better. Okay. Well, that didn't take long. A couple of moves later, when I played this move, that turned out to be a blunder. Okay. Right before that, I was up +1 or so after the blunder with my queen a move ago. Well, they moved forward to take that pawn, or to, I assumed that it was kind of a dual purpose move to protect the knight and to attack my pawn. I guess I should have just taken it. Maybe that's what my blunder was. But instead I went to defend it. I don't know what the problem is. That doesn't really undefend this square, which is what you normally worry about, or what I normally worry about with a pawn move. Anytime you move a pawn to attack something or defend something, as I was doing here, you're undefending a previous square. But in this case, that square is still defended. So I didn't see why that was such a bad idea. It doesn't allow them to get a passed pawn because I would have just taken it. It would have left me an isolated pawn, but so would have taking. Should I have just taken? Yes, I should have just taken the pawn. That was my only move that maintained my near +1 advantage. Let's keep moving. All right. Well, moving my knight in there was a blunder. Okay. It wasn't a blunder to put my knight over there in the first place. It was fine. But when I put it in there, it was a blunder. Okay. Well, that was the whole reason that I moved it over here to b5 in the first place, was to put it there to block their queen off from being able to come back here. And then I was going to figure out a way to get that knight, even if I had to sacrifice my bishop for it, and then win a pawn afterwards. But I thought this would block their queen off, because how is their queen getting out of there? That's what I thought. But that was a blunder. Okay, let's go back. My opponent had just made a mistake by moving their queen forward 1 square, which I'm not sure why that was a mistake. I see the logic behind it. They were going to put a rook behind it. That's why I put my knight in front of it, so that the rook behind it wouldn't make any difference, because they would then still have to lose a queen if they tried to power through that file. But I should have done something else. What should I have done? I have no idea. Should I have just taken the front knight? Should I have just traded off? I didn't want to do that, because then they would take with their pawn. And their other knight is still guarding that spot. Actually, they might just take with the knight. Yeah, I mean, obviously I saw this, but I definitely didn't want to do it. So surely that's not it. What else could there be? I can't move my bishop forward because the pawn's in the way, and I can't move the pawn forward because the other pawn's in the way. You saw it was an inaccuracy earlier when I moved this rook over. I was giving an extra degree of protection to that pawn because they're attacking it all over the place. And I thought they might be about to play an F pawn. Should I have done something with the rook? What should I have done? Should I have just moved my queen out of the way of this? No, not there. I don't want to put it in line with that bishop. But maybe here or here? Again? I don't know. I have no idea. I can't find it. What does the line say? H4. That's what it says. I'm still hearing that noise, and I'm sorry. Hopefully that's not showing up in the microphone, but it sounds like it's right outside my window and someone's just tapping 2 boards together right there. H4. Seems like I did this recently where H4 was the move I should have played, and it didn't make any sense to me, but that's what I should have done. Or taken this pawn. If I had taken that pawn, they would have taken back, it says, and then I should have played bishop to G3. Okay, or queen to E4. Okay, that was my 3rd best move. Okay, I did guess that one. But I'm not sure why, other than it gets the queen out of the way of their queen. But I was getting my queen out of the way of their queen by blocking their queen from being able to come through the file. But apparently that's a blunder because it gave my opponent, well, it wasn't that bad of a blunder. Why did it count it as a blunder? It only gave them another, it's still -1. It was -1, now it's -1.8. That should have been an inaccuracy or a mistake at worst. All right, let's turn off the lines and see if we can find my next one. Okay, we found my next one. Earlier you saw that my 2nd best move was this, but now that's not a good move at all. Okay, so let's back up. Okay, their move was a blunder, and I didn't take advantage of it in the way that I should have. This gave me 2 + 4, and should I have just pushed this pawn forward to threaten their knight? I didn't think so, because I thought their knight was going to go in here, protected by that pawn. their c pawn, and then that would be blocking off my rook here and possibly threatening to come back this way or something. But I did consider playing b5, so maybe that's it. Here, my opponent was up a pawn, so maybe that's why I shouldn't have traded pawns and given them a passed. Okay, that would have given them a passed pawn. But pushing forward would have given them, technically, a passed pawn too. I think maybe the problem with this is that it undefends that square. We talked about that a second ago. When you move a pawn, it quits defending a previous square or quits blocking the spot that it was blocking before. Maybe that's why that's bad, because maybe now then they can get their knight in here. But I don't see how that's bad. I can then just drop the bishop back, right? Okay, should I have pushed this pawn forward? Maybe that's it, because I don't have a passed pawn yet, but I have one that's close. Maybe that's what I should have done. E6. If I had played e6, that would have A, gotten out of the way of this bishop. B, if they had taken it, which I assumed they would have, I could have taken with my rook and would have been directly threatening their knight. And I could have maybe then been ready to bring another knight. Maybe that's it. Okay, I'm going to say e6. Let's turn on the lines. It was e6. You saw it took me a while to find it, but it was e6. I don't remember considering that during the game, but surely I did. I had time here, surely I considered that, but then I decided against it for some reason. It says that they would take and I would take with the rook, so that's kind of what I was thinking. But for right now, that does look like the best move. It's protected twice by me after I moved the pawn there. Okay, so I did find that. And the second best move that would have maintained a little bit of an advantage is bishop to d5, putting my bishop here, which would have pinned their knight to their rook. But I assume if I did that, they would just move the rook over. It says they wouldn't. Really? If I played bishop to d5, which I think I did consider during the game, but I discounted it because they could just move the rook over and defend it. And it says that's not even their best move. Their best move is to move the rook to a to d8. What would I have done if they had played here? Oh, I still could have played e6. Okay, well, it's all about e6 then. That makes sense to me. I'm threatening to create a passed pawn. And I assume they would take it. I'm guarding that square twice, so I get either a rook or a bishop in there. If I took the bishop in there, it would be check, but they would just move out. So take it with the rook, which threatens the knight. All right, let's turn off the lines and find my next mistake and or blunder. Maybe I shouldn't worry about trying to speed through these. I'm just going to guess I should have played e6 again or bishop to d5 instead of that rook. I had a +3, right around +3 advantage here. And it was a mistake for them to take back my pawn. I really don't know what they should have done instead, but this is about me. That was a blunder. It seemed obvious at the time, but maybe I should have put the rook here. I mean, the bishop here, because I do know what pieces are called. And again, I was worried that they would have done that or this, which would have pinned the bishop to my rook. Okay, but it's probably e6 again. Let's turn on the lines. It is. It's e6 again. I don't know why that is that much better, but I get that it's good. Okay, and bishop to d5 was my second best one. I think maybe the problem with this is that they can then get their knight out of danger and be threatening my bishop at the same time, since I have taken here and I'm not defending a5 anymore. That one makes sense to me. But what I did instead was I did that instead, which allowed them to go in there. Wait, I'm just curious. I thought they should have gone to a5. No, they should not have gone knight to a5. Okay, well, I was way off. They played their best move. Okay. Their only move that was not a mistake. Okay. That keeps my rook from coming back, for one thing, and it keeps my other rook from protecting it. So I get that. I get why that would be their best move. But this is about me. My next move was a mistake. All those times, e6 was great. My only good move. Now it's bad. My thinking here, and I do remember now, because I got the rook up there. My rook wasn't only threatening the knight, my rook was also guarding this square. Well, their knight moving out of danger does protect e6, but if I move my pawn there, I have 1, 2, 3 pieces hitting e6. So it seemed reasonable that if they took, then I could take back with, say, the bishop. And if they took back with the knight, I could take back with one of the rooks. I don't know which one. And then I would have rooks infiltrated in here. But that's bad. e6 is bad now. Let me just guess it was bishop to d5. Maybe? It was h4 again. Oh wow, there were several good moves that maintained exact equality. h4 is listed as the top one, but equal to that are rook to d7. Okay, I get that. Rook's on the 7th as a general principle. You want to do that. But I didn't see where it would be going anywhere just yet. Or king to f1. I get that also. It guards this rook in case of shenanigans later in the day. I wonder if there are others. Sometimes when the top 3 moves are listed, there's others under there that would also be drawing. Oh yeah, there are more. Oh, now it's saying rook to d7 is top. Rook to d7 is my top one. King to f1 is also drawing. h4 is drawing. h3 is drawing. Interesting. I'd like h3. That gives me a little hidey hole for this bishop in case it comes under fire. Rook to b1 is very close to 0. And I get that. Rooks belong on open files. But e6 was wrong. Okay, turn off the lines. That was a mistake. How bad? It wasn't that bad. It gives my opponent -1. Okay. It says it was inaccurate for them to take back. That's surprising because it undoubled their pawns. It kept me from being able to push mine forward. If they didn't take back, what? Okay, again, I'm supposed to be evaluating my moves, but that's what I thought they would do. And then I thought I would take with the bishop, they would take with the knight, and I would take with the rook, right? Okay, good. That wasn't a mistake. Okay, that's what I meant to do. And that's what I thought they would do. All right. There's my next mistake. Should I have taken with the other rook? That has to be it. Because I shouldn't just let that go. That's got to be it. I'm not even going to look for anything else. I should have taken with my e-rook. For some reason, there's a huge difference. I don't know why. Taking with my d-rook is the second best move, but it's worse. Worse enough that Stockfish or the Game Review counted it as a mistake. Okay, I don't know what the big difference is. If I had taken with my e-rook, which obviously I considered, I had both rooks pointing at that square, but I didn't know that one would be better. And it says now they can take control of the open file. Well, they could have done that no matter which rook I took with, right? Or they can place the, okay, they have a passed pawn, I get that. Oh, if they move the pawn, well, it says I wouldn't, but I could put a rook behind it. It says if they move that pawn, I would play king to f1 for some reason. I guess trying to zigzag over here and get there before they do. Or bishop to d4. Okay, I guess keeping my rook from coming back, I guess. But then I could just, I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand why the other rook was better. Okay, well, I took with the front rook. I think one reason I took with the front rook, left the back rook back here, because I didn't know which one was better. But one reason that I chose that one, I'm pretty sure, is that these 3 pawns are still here kind of trapping my king. And if I had moved my back rook, they have 2 moves to mate. Oh no, it wouldn't have mattered, would it? Yeah, it would have, because my rooks would have been side by side here, and each one coming back to defend the back rank would have been undefended, and the rook could have just taken them in turn, and it would have been mate. Surely I would have had time, if they had done this, to do something about it, to give myself an out. But that's probably one reason that figured into my consideration of which rook to take with. Regardless, my opponent is now up -1.7. Okay, let's find my next mistake. That was their best move a second ago, was it not? But now it's horrible. Now it was a huge blunder, gave me a huge advantage. Let's see if I took advantage of it. I did. Okay. Now, this is one of the points that I talked about in the introduction when I said I recognized some points at which I was pretty sure they had made a mistake. Now, I thought they had made a mistake here because they gave up a bishop, gave up a rook for a bishop, which leaves me with two wow. They gave up their rook for this bishop. And once they took back, I would have 2 rooks, doubled, and they would have a rook and a bishop, which notoriously can't work as well together as 2 rooks, although some people do really well with them. So it counted that as a great move on my part. And this is one point at which I felt like I had gone ahead. I didn't know for sure that that was a blunder, but I know that going up the exchange is usually good. So anyway, I took it and they took back. Okay, let's see. I am still ahead. Let's see how long it takes me before I make my next mistake. Right here, I thought what they should do is put their king in front of that pawn, which would keep me from getting any closer. I could come here, but then they could check, and I would have to move my king someplace, and then they could bring their king even closer and guide this pawn down. I guess I didn't follow that out far enough because their bishop here and their king over here would have left the pawn undefended. So yeah, it was right there that I thought that was a mistake on their part, but it's not listed as a mistake because this allowed me to blockade their pawn. Okay, I do remember that part, but for some reason that wasn't a mistake. That was probably apparently one of their better moves. But here I did think I was winning, and I thought it was because that was a mistake. I thought they should have put their king there first, but I was wrong. The idea about this is that they can't get my king out of there. So that pawn's never going anywhere. they have a dark squared bishop. It could attack me down here on the back rank, but it can't attack me here because that's a light square. It can continue defending the pawn, but that's all it can do. And their king can wander around, but their king can't go this way because my rook's cutting off that whole file. And it can't get around this way because my king is down there. So I thought this was really good for me. And again, I didn't know I was up +7, but I thought that they made a mistake right there and I took advantage of it. Okay, find my next mistake. Okay, that wasn't listed as a mistake, not even an inaccuracy, but right here I'm at +13, according to the evaluation bar on the left. But when I moved it over, it dropped. Now it's just +8 or 6, 9. Okay, it's +9 now. Okay, maybe it wasn't that bad. But a second, I'm curious, there must have been a move that was better. Rook to G8 was better. Okay, I should have given up that pawn and come after this one. I was wondering here if I shouldn't have taken this pawn. That was what I was worried about here, because they have this passed pawn. Rook to G8 would have been best. F4 would have been just almost, oh, it's +15 now. F4 would have been +12, and rook to F8 would have been +11. But this took me down to, okay, so it wasn't listed as a mistake for some reason, but it wasn't the best. My idea here was that, well, they're going to get that pawn, but I'm going to get this one. But what I'm realizing now is I could have just taken this pawn. How bad would that have been? What could they have done if I had just taken that pawn? Oh, that would have taken us back to +5. Oh, well, +7. And then they would have taken this one, right, which is what I thought. But then their bishop would be pinned to their king. And it says I would play F4. I wouldn't have played F4 here. I would have played king to D3 maybe, trying to come this way. In case they did move a pawn, I could get beside it. And if they ever try to come get my rook, well, I can just move my rook. Okay, so, oh, it's saying +14 now. Wait. Okay, right here when I took the pawn, it says it went back to +5. But that wouldn't have been bad at all. Because, okay, well, it says +5 now. But watch, once they take this, it's +52. If I take that bishop now, plus even F4 is +55. Okay, so taking the pawn wouldn't have been that bad then. Okay, all right. But what I played instead was rook to C8. And that didn't quite count that as a mistake. But the Stockfish is having trouble deciding how good of an advantage that still is for me. +5, +9, okay. All right, that was inaccurate to take that pawn. I should have taken it with my king, correct? Is that what it was? No, I should have played F4. F4 is by far my better move, but this is my third best move, and it still maintains an advantage. How bad would taking it with my king have been? +3. Wait, taking with my king would have been okay. +7. That's why I should have played F4. I get it now. Oh, I get it now. But still, taking this pawn with my king gives me +10. But when we back up, it wasn't listed as one of the better moves. Wait, now it is listed as one of the better moves. Nope, not anymore. Yes. Nope. Yes. Rook to G8 is still my best move, but king taking that pawn is now listed as one of the top 3 moves. Now that I played it and went back. But I took with my rook, which was listed as inaccurate. Okay. Okay, and I will say here that I thought I had won. And I thought, I can just keep all these things on light squares, except obviously the pawn has to pass through dark squares in order to get to the end. But my final destination is a light square, and they can't guard that with their bishop. But after a few more moves, I do remember this, after a few more moves, not here, but I began to realize how difficult it was going to be. Here, I still thought I had won. I thought there, if they take, I take with my rook, and I know how to win. I know how to checkmate with just a rook and a king. But they didn't take. They kept moving closer. Now I can't move my pawn because the rook's in the way and the king is pinned. But that's okay because I can move my rook, which means they have to move their bishop, which means I can then move my pawn. So they did that, and I did move the pawn. And again, still thinking I've won here. They attack my rook. Okay, I've got to move it. I go there. The king has to go back. I go across instead of moving the pawn, because if I had moved the pawn, then all my pieces would have been on dark squares with their dark squared bishop. I didn't like that. I took the rook over there to keep their king from being able to come any closer. They brought their bishop down. I bring my king forward. I'm marching that pawn down, and I thought I had won. But then here in a little bit, I realized, oh, that's a mistake? Okay, well, I didn't know that was a mistake, but here I began to realize it was going to be difficult to get to the end. And I'm going to find out what I should have played instead here. Should I have checked with the rook? Is that what I should have done? No. I should have played rook to d6. I don't know why. Or rook to g6 check. Okay, that would have been just as good. Or rook to c6. For some reason, where it is bad. I don't know why. I didn't want to put it in front of the pawn because I wanted to move the pawn. And I don't know why c6 or d6 are so good. d6 is a dark square. I wouldn't have even considered. I was trying really hard to keep my rook on light squares. And my king. And definitely not trying not to line them up on a diagonal where their bishop could win one or the other. But for some reason, pushing that pawn was very, very bad. And that's because they can play bishop to d4. Okay. I don't know. Okay. I mean, that guards the square in front of the pawn, but then couldn't I have just played this? It says I would have. Okay, but for some reason that was bad. Okay. Well, they played there, which gave me a huge advantage back. That was a mistake. Okay. I don't know why that was a mistake either. Should I have played rook to d6 here? Oh, rook to e6 now. Or c6, or a4. What I wanted this bishop to do was not be guarding that square, because right now, if I check, their king only has 3 moves going back, or 1 going alongside the pawn here. And I kind of wanted that, because then I figured I could bring the king up beside my pawn. They would check me. I would go up here and be protecting the square in front of it. That was kind of my idea. But then I began to realize their dark squared bishop covers that. Okay. So that's a mistake, not sure why, but they made a mistake as well, which is weird because that's where they should have played the previous turn. Okay, that's an inaccuracy. That's an inaccuracy. See, this is the part where I thought my opponent was playing superbly, and I began to realize I can't get there. I'm going to have trouble anyway getting their king out from in front of the pawn. The reason that I moved here, I don't know why it was inaccurate, is because I wanted to check, and again, force the king off to the side, and then shepherd my pawn forward. But I realized here that that's not possible. So maybe my opponent has a draw and I don't realize it. Because if I did check here and they moved aside, I can't move my pawn forward because then they could take it. And if I took back with the rook, they'd take back with their king and nobody would have any pieces or pawns left. Okay. So I did check there, but that was inaccurate. Okay. What should I have done instead? I should have played rook to d1 instead. Okay. Well, I didn't figure that out just yet. Wait, now it's plus 48? Go back. You see that, right? Now it says it. Okay. Now it's saying rook to d7 check is my best move. You see that, right? Rook to d7 is my best move. So it counted my best move as an inaccuracy. Okay. And king to f8 was their best move. But all of these are plus 100 now. Okay. So I don't feel so bad about that plan then. Okay. They moved back. g7 is my best move. Wait, what? Why is g7 my best move? Wouldn't they just take it? It says if they take it, I would have a mating sequence. Really? I thought if they took it, then what? Oh, then I go here. And there's nothing they can do, right? Or is there? Wait, couldn't they just go here? How would I have mate in 2 now? Rook to d8. And then if they move their king over, why wouldn't they move their king over? Then I would go back. And then they would come back. Now it says rook to b8 is my best move. Oh, no, sorry. Wait, what? Rook to b8, okay. Oh, now they have to go over. Okay, I get it now. Wow. Wow. Okay, well, that's all imaginary because what I played was this, but it still says plus 48, which is really good. Okay, but I thought we were about drawn here because I was having a really hard time figuring out how I'm going to get these pieces up here. I started thinking of a plan to maybe bring my king this way to protect that square, but their bishop could then just check me and I couldn't go that way anymore. That was my problem I was running into. Okay, they decided to keep their bishop on that. Now see, I thought this might have been a mistake because now it does allow me to come over here and they're going to take a little while to get back. But apparently it's still plus 48. That was inaccurate. Should I have gone to the right? No. What? Rook to d7 is my best move. Rook to a7 is my next best move. And rook to c7. Wow. Those were all the plus 5s. Going there, was counted as inaccurate, but I'm still up plus 50. Okay, so the game review is throwing me off here. That was a mistake. And it was a mistake because it allows king to f5, putting my king back where it just was, or rook to h3, or rook to h2. I think I get it. Because of where the pawn is, if I bring my rook back, I can come around and mate over here. I think. Maybe that's why that is. Okay. But I brought my king down for some reason. It's still plus 50 though, so that couldn't have been that bad of an inaccuracy. That was my second best move. I think I was trying to maybe to do something here, but my opponent brought the bishop back. So now I just need to play king to d6 or king to e6 or king to d7. I just need to hang around there with my king. All right. But instead I did that, which still maintains plus 50. Okay, yeah, see, all this time I was having trouble getting this pawn forward, and this bishop was causing me no end of annoyance. Okay, that was a mistake, but it's still plus 50, according to the Stockfish lines. That was a mistake, but it's still plus 50. Okay. They wanted to repeat. I didn't want to repeat, so I did something different. It's still plus 50. So how is that inaccurate? Okay, they went back there. I decided to start bringing my king around the other way. They started repeating moves. I bring my rook, deciding to try to go around. I brought my king. That's inaccurate, but it's still plus 50. So the inaccuracies that when it listed, I said the game review said I had 11 or whatever it was inaccuracies. Most of them were not inaccurate because they were just as good as the top moves. Okay, then I decided to bring my rook over. It's still plus 50. Okay, when they did that, I knew I had won. I don't know what they should have done instead. I'm going to back up. What they should have done instead was bishop to b2. Okay, they should have just kept going back and forth. As soon as they did that, I knew I had won. And I don't know if my opponent realized what they had done or if they thought that was a good strategy somehow. Maybe they thought that I didn't want to lose my rook for this. And so their idea was that they would come here and blockade my pawn. But I knew I could win with just a pawn. I stopped and I calculated. I remember calculating this. Wait, is this going to be a draw? Is this going to be one of those situations where they can get in front of my pawn and I can't force it forward? But I figured if I take, they have to take back, right? It's check. I mean, they don't have to. They could move forward, but then I would move my rook forward and I would still have the rook. Okay, so calculate, check. Okay, then I thought if I brought my king that way to the G file, trying to go around, they can move their king over and get in front of the pawn. So then I thought, what if after they go to the corner, I go here? They can still get in front of the pawn, but then I can move it. And they can't come out this way or that way. They're going to have to get out that way. And then I'll move my king forward and protect the promotion square. And that's exactly what happened. Oh, it says that was brilliant? Okay. Well, they took it and I moved my king forward and they moved in front of the pawn and I moved my pawn forward and they had to move their king to the side, like I said, because that was a forced move. So I'd calculated all of this and I moved forward and they had to go back and I queened. Now, for some reason, my opponent didn't resign there. They moved there and waited until I did this, and then they resigned. Maybe they wanted to see if I knew how to checkmate with a king and a queen, but that's what they did. I'm curious as to why it says mate in 2. It says I should have played queen to g3 first. Oh, that makes sense. I get that. See, what I thought I was going to have to do was bring my king, they would move their king. I would bring my king, they would move their king, and so on until they got to the end, and then I would have checkmate with the queen coming down. But no, I could have just moved my queen now, preventing them from coming back. Would have forced them the other way, and then I would have had mate. Okay, I didn't see that. But when I did that, they resigned. A couple of things we learned here. Okay, so I think I've learned a few things here. One thing I learned is that I wasn't as tied as I thought during that entire endgame process. Like I said, there were points there where I thought I wasn't going to be able to get the pawn through. And I didn't know for sure until they blundered the bishop in the corner. That's when I knew for a fact, certain, that I would win. And I also learned that somebody who can move a bishop around can make it really difficult to move a passed pawn, even if you have a rook. I was having quite a bit of trouble getting that pawn down there. Okay, second thing we learned, or third thing, I've lost count already. Wow. Okay, another thing that we've learned is that when the game review lists a bunch of inaccuracies like that, it's worth going through and looking at. Because as we saw, especially throughout the endgame, a lot of the moves that it listed as inaccurate for me were actually among my best moves. Or they kept the evaluation bar at the same place as my best moves, plus 50, plus 50.9, as we saw for quite a few of those. Then I don't think that happened for the mistakes, though. Another thing we learned is some of the mistakes, I just couldn't figure out why they were counted as a mistake. I couldn't figure out why. And a couple of them I could, but I don't think going through this helped me that much. I really don't. And I'm disappointed by that. Hopefully one of you who is rated higher than me can leave a comment, help me out here. But I don't feel like I learned that much from it. The most instructive moment for me, and I will just say this to conclude the video, was the point where we had our queens there in the middle. There. This point here, it was instructive to me that it made sense to put my queen on one of those squares because that protects this square. Gets my queen out of danger. It guards d4, which means that I could then take that with my rook and have a free knight, rather than taking where I did move, which was here, which meant I would have had to take that with my queen, and it wouldn't have been a free knight because then we would have both lost our queens. I guess it still counts as a free knight though, except then we don't have our queens anymore. The other way, I would have gotten a free knight and had a rook pointed at their queen. Thank you for watching. Let's all get better together. We'll see you next time.